other student papers.
Got it. Maya?
And I was going to just share a tip that I discovered pretty early on. Google Books is amazing. You can look for a string, like if you're looking for transformational learning, and Google Books will just dump a bunch of resources, and you can find what page it's on in the book. So you don't have to read the entire book. And in fact, you can find quite a bit without even having to get the book at all. So I highly recommend going and finding what page that stuff is on. Yeah, I know. It was dangerous. But yeah, it's very, very efficient.
We all did it differently.
Is it because you're over? Is it dangerous because you're overloaded?
You can just get too much. You can just get too much. But you can read, like, because you can go search in the library catalog and you find books, but you don't know if it's got exactly what you want. But you can actually go look inside the book and determine, do I want to go check that book out from the library? Did I just get everything I need right now? It really helps streamline that process. So it's worth looking at. It's amazing. You would not believe, even if it says limited preview, don't trust it. Click on it and look, because a lot of them say limited preview, and you get just literally search for strings right inside the book.
And when you hear process, I mean, if there's an implication, it might, or some people might imagine it to be a linear process. I had the experience of finding a subject area that's not well documented, sort of one of these gaps. So there was limited information available, and those sources I was able to find didn't always agree with where I thought I was going. So I had to ask myself the question, well, if the literature is going a different direction, I think it's going this way, you know, what is the correct picture here? So it's iterative. You know, the books are going to deflect you in some way off your course, but if you have a sense of course, be prepared to have the information that you don't know yet influence that. There's more information in the system.
And the structure of how you do the paper is really well defined, and that is the thing to follow.
Yes, very
question.
Yeah, she has a question. Lee, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I would say that if you know, as a way to accelerate learning, is if there's someone out there who has a paper, has your area of interest, look in their paper and look at their resources. So there's the resources that start with that, because then you don't have kept down the research, but the research is, I would say a lot of the time was spending the research getting the resources. Once you have them, then make sure you have time to do that.
And if you find a book you like, go into that bibliography, and that has some great trails. You're sort of following the trail of information, and that's really fun.
My question is about the topic, and I think we'll probably get this information next month or whatever, but so, for example, just taking this example, so if this idea of the three things I mentioned was like motivational interviewing, creative tension, and the stories we tell ourselves. So, do I identify a theory that encapsulates those three things, or do I say, I want to understand this deeper motivational interviewing, and my whole paper is about motivational interviewing, or is it a theory of like the stories we tell ourselves and everything that goes with that reading? Do you know what I mean? Is it narrower than that or broader?
I think the faculty can answer that.
So what we had to do, we had to identify the topic, and then we had to identify, I think it was 5 or 6
Seminal resources.
Yeah. Fields?
No, field of
fields of knowledge.
Yeah.
And so you selected one of those 6, and then you did your deep dive on one of those, and then you had information about the other 5 that are more general in nature. So, for instance, for me, we did a lot of writing, obviously, in the program, and most of the papers that I wrote, I will never go back and look at again. My theory paper is different, though. That's a document that I am going to use for the rest of my professional life. And so, the area that I spent the most time in, I understand that, I won't say fully, but more fully than other 5 areas. And so I can go back now with those other 5 areas and spend more time exploring those 5 areas and see how they will inform my work.
So would those 5 areas be those 3 things I just, like, would those be example of 3 areas?
The
those
theory
3 I just said?
those areas.
Well, maybe, because
you know what I mean?
I did a theory and an intersection with something else. I mean, so some people did a theory and the 5 areas. I did a theory and intersected it with, with something else, which turned out to be aesthetic ways of knowing. And so that was a thing, but within those, I still had 5 other areas, that were interesting for me to follow. So I would just read about those 3 things and see where you go.
Yeah, and your advice is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just trying to think, like, does it have to be a theory, kind of like you picked out one theory, or is that,
Well,
because I mean, sometimes you get too big and it's
Stay
too
tuned.
confusing and write the paper.
So I'm gonna cut off this conversation just for a minute because I want to make sure we get time to talk about the projects.
Sure.
And then we'll have some open time for any kinds of questions so we can continue talking, but I want to make sure we have plenty of time to get to the projects. Wrapping up the topic about the consulting projects, was there anyone that had anything specific that you really wanted to mention in terms of how your consulting project influenced your area of interest or influenced your OSR project?
My consulting project, I was surprised about, out of that experience, that's what informed me about my individual project, which is about teamwork and community. That, because I don't know if you guys are gonna get to learn about the extraordinary groups from Jeff Bellman, and that I got to experience that in my consulting group. And so out of that influenced what I was gonna do. I was surprised about that. So just be open and.
I was going to offer that my consulting project was so tangentially related. It was a mentoring program at Seattle U, and I was really interested in mentoring at-risk youth. So it had to do with mentoring, but it really had nothing to do with the kind of work that I wanted to do. And I was really surprised at how much more confidence I had as I exited that project than going into it. And the deadlines were so unbelievably tight, and I learned so much from that they were a gift, because we would have just kept going on and on and on. and it really got us to be comfortable with just jumping in and, being with that tension. And so anyway, that was what I used. I actually was able to use that learning in my project in a really big way.
There's also the element that as you're working on your consulting project, there's also this stream of work that you're doing in addition to your classwork is the work that you're doing with your mentoring council and talking about, again, your area of focus and how that's shifting and how you're starting to frame up what your project might be. So all of this is happening in parallel process, so you're working on a little bit of everything at the same time.
I'll comment on that. I came away, the client that I worked with, actually almost my whole team is here, but the client that we worked with, it was all about helping this company define their business culture, and I was just so interested in the culture and these kinds of things, and it was so boring. I mean, we were so ready to go in and just enjoy this so much, and it was just very, not boring in that we weren't learning. Like, I came away with a huge amount of confidence, just like what Maya said. Like, I did it. Like, we did it. And we were successful in what we did. But I did also realize that what I thought I would be interested in as someone going in and doing an intervention, totally not what I thought it would be. So it was a great learning in that way about what I thought I'd be interested in. I found that I wasn't. And yet we were really successful in what we were asked to do and feeling very confident, like, I can do this again, I've done it now. And it worked. And great structure we were given we knew what the process was, the client knew what the process was, and it was great, so.
How do you think it worked?
It worked because the client told us it did. Actually, like, we did a discovery session within the company with like 30 people, and we helped them identify what are the qualities of the company through a whole bunch of, we had 4 different, actually 4 innovations within a 6-hour period. We did 4 different separate things with these people within the company, and we designed this this intervention with these company people, and then they went, the people in HR used our model and did it in every facility. There's like 4 or 5 facilities in this company, and they did it throughout the whole company. And then we heard back just 2 sessions ago in our AI meeting that they were really happy with it and it worked. So we're like, wow, this is really awesome. And we're so happy for you, but we're not coming back. That was cool.
Yeah, friend.